With talks going on tonight in Washington, I sat down with Donald Trump at Trump Tower a little while ago. Not surprisingly, he was pretty blunt about the dysfunction that shuts down the government. He's in the chair tonight. Donald Trump, if you were the CEO of Washington Incorporated right now, how many times would you have been saying you're fired in the last few weeks?
Well, probably a lot, but they really have to learn to get along. I mean, you just have a president that is not leading and not getting people into a room and not shouting and cajoling and laughing and having a good time and having a terrible time. But, you know, all of these different emotions and things you have to do. But you have to get people in a room and you have to just make deals for the good of the country.
He's finally done that today with the Republicans. So a group of them have gone down. They're led by John Boehner. Many people are criticizing both Speaker Boehner and the president for not doing enough talking in the previous few weeks. Just in the Clinton-Gingrich era, they talked all the time.
Well, I will say this. If the Republicans stuck together, they have cards like you wouldn't believe. You know, I hear so much about the Republicans don't have the cards. The fact is they have tremendous cards if they stuck together. But, Piers, they're not sticking together. You have all of these different guys making different statements, and they want to come back, and we should be back. The fact is they have a lot of strength if they want, but they're not sticking together.
The government shutdown is painful, but a debt ceiling crisis would be potentially catastrophic. Warren Buffett's called it the nuclear button option, and that it should never be used as a political tool. As a top businessman, what do you think of that?
Well, nobody knows. It's uncharted territory. You know, the debt ceiling, look, we're up to 17 trillion in debt. Nobody's ever
Can you even believe that figure?
No. It was a word.
This now gets trotted out as if it's perfectly normal.
Well, it was a word that didn't exist in our language 10 years ago. Let's face it, trillion, the word trillion. Now you don't hear billion anymore. All you hear is trillion. The fact is that it's a number that's staggering, 17 trillion, and going up rapidly. It's not stopping there. They're looking at 24 trillion. Now, at what point does it stop? The debt ceiling, nobody knows what's going to happen. Now, you could have a situation where you don't raise the debt ceiling and people actually have to go and really cut and get the country back into shape. There are those that say that could happen also.
Would you feel comfortable about the debt ceiling limit not being extended? As somebody who has so many fingers and so many business pies in America.
The word comfortable is a hard word. Certainly I wouldn't feel comfortable with it because, again, you're uncharted territory. But I will say this, something has to be done to get debt down. We can't continue to go this way. We're looking at numbers that are just staggering, and they're going up at a staggering rate. So something's going to have to be done. They have to make deals. They have to sit down and say, we're going to have to do something. You look at what's happening with other countries, how they're look, hey, I've been doing this with you for a long time, and it never changes. Nobody changes. Nobody does anything. When you look at China, when you look at some of the other countries, the way they take advantage of this country, China gets their oil, and they come through the straits. Now, they come through the straits. We protect the straits. China gets most of the oil, and Europe, by the way. We get 10% of the oil, and yet we spend all of the money of the mill. Why aren't people reimbursing us for this? Why aren't people helping us? Why aren't people doing things? We cannot continue to spend the way we're spending, and really, to a large extent, it's to the benefit of others. And in particular, I mean, China's the worst abuser, there's no question about it, but virtually every country that does business with us as a country takes advantage of the United States.
From a business point of view, though, China's been extremely smart with America. It's bought up more and more American debt.
It's very smart.
Nearly a third of American debt is owned by the Chinese. If there was to be a default on the debt ceiling, the first people that would get paid would be the Chinese with their bonds, because otherwise the whole pack of cards comes down. I mean, their power, if there is a default on the American debt, increases pretty rapidly.
Well, I guess you could say that. But look, China's already been lecturing us, don't let this happen. Can you believe this? We put ourselves in a position.
Can you laugh at them saying that?
Well, I can't laugh.
In a wry way?
I think you could cry. I'm not sure about the word laugh. I mean, it's sad how we put ourselves
in this position. But laugh at the effrontery, because actually they have a position of strength, don't they?
They have played us. Nobody's ever played us like that, other than OPEC. I would say OPEC maybe even has played us better. But I use them as the two chief abusers, China and OPEC. Nobody's played us like those two. But China, when you think of it, what they've done is, in the history of the world, there has never been any country that has manipulated their currency to their benefit, like China has. They manipulate their currency. They take our jobs through this manipulation. What they do once our companies go there is incredible, because they put rules and regulations on those countries. I mean, when Caterpillar makes tractors, they don't want them made in the United States. They want them made in China. They also want all of the information, all of that incredible technology. They want all, and they ask for things that we don't even think of asking. And by the way, they tax our products when we send them.
How did you feel when you heard that the death payments to the widows and families of dead servicemen and women in the American military were not going to be paid?
Well, I thought it was one of the most outrageous things I've ever heard, and I've been doing this for quite a while. I've seen a lot of crazy things, stupid things, horrible things, and I guess you put this in the category of all of the above. I actually tweeted that if the government doesn't pay it, I will. And I assume in some form they're going to get paid, because I haven't heard back. But a lot of people respected what is. I think it's horrible. Here you've lost a son or a daughter that you love and cherish, and then on top of it, the government says, well, we don't have the money to pay for the funerals and for the death. I mean, it's incredible. So when you say, how do you feel about it? I thought it was outrageous.
Let's take a short break. When we come back.